Hello again. Now we are in the second session of the Cancer Prevention Seminar. What is cancer is going to be the topic of this presentation. Remember, I mentioned in number 1 that this seminar is provided by Loma University School of Public Health, and I am Dr. Dos Santos, Assistant Professor of Preventive Care. And we will provide you, if you contact us, with the PowerPoint presentation. So you can present those seminars using our video, but if you don't like the presenter, you can do it by yourselves. Okay? So let's go for the first item here, that is, what is cancer? We will talk about the definition of cancer and give you a little more inputs on what is the mechanism of cancer. Cancer is defined by the Merck Manual, one of the most recognized books in the medical field, as a proliferation of cells whose unique trait, loss of normal controls, results in unregulated growth, lack of differentiation, local tissue invasion, and metastasis. So what we are seeing here is a cell that starts growing fastly, and then it starts changing its identity. That's lack of the differentiation. And then start going far or traveling, moving away from its original site. That's when we have that, and then we form tumors, and this is the definition, classic definition of cancer. In simple terms, is a proliferation of cells, or cells that grow abnormally. There is more than 100 diseases that are constituted cancer. So they have different functions, they have different features. That's why it's very hard sometimes to put this in one basket and say cancer, because in different places the cells will, in different organs, the cells will behave in a different way. But in general, they have the common trait to proliferate, to grow abnormally. Essentially, there is an alteration of the DNA, that is the cell identity, and there is a mutation on this DNA, and then this will trigger the cell to develop abnormally. A cell starts to develop an erratic behavior, and then uncontrolled growth, and then a formation of tumors and invasion of other organs, as we mentioned, that we call metastasis. DNA is the cell identity, is the portion of the genes that identify the cells. For instance, a cell from the lungs, it has its own specific DNA that will make them to develop as functional lung cells. And then they will do the exchange of gas that is important for our lives, but are important for the function of the lungs. So if you breathe air inside, oxygen inside of the lungs, and this oxygen does not go through the lung cells to the blood, you will not have oxygen in the blood, and then you have a risk of lack of circulation or lack of oxygen in the cells, and the cells in the other organs might die. So it's essential that you have an authentic lung cell. But if the lung cell changes its identity, it will develop with another type of cell that does not perform anymore the functions of the lungs, and like the respiration and exchange of gases. Then these outer cells will have other qualities and will form tumors and will migrate from the lungs to other areas of the body. I use the lung as an example, but what we have is many cells, many cancers in other parts of the body migrating to the lungs. And we can have like a lung cancer that will migrate to other organs, including to the bones and to other areas of the body that we already mentioned we call metastasis. What happened to this is what we call an identity theft. That is the word that is being used very commonly today. It's like you have a driver's license of a person that you know that is called Mr. Elvis Presley, and then all of a sudden you have another person with the same driver's license. No more Elvis there, but the name is still saying Elvis. The cells still are called lung cells, but they are completely different. They don't sing like Elvis. They don't play guitar as Elvis. They try to resemble Elvis, but they are far away from that. This, as I mentioned, happens in the genes. The genes are part of the cells, and then inside of the genes you have the DNA that is shown on the right side of the picture. The life of the cells is where the cancer agents or the cancer happens. Normally a cell divides when they come from what they call a stem cell, and then this cell will divide in small cells, and then they will differentiate, or mean if the cells is from the skin, they will be with the characteristics of the skin. That's what we mean by differentiation. And then they die. So if you consider your body, you have 10 trillion of cells renewed and repaired constantly. We could say that in a few months you are not yourself anymore, because your cells, most of them are being repaired and replaced by new cells that come in place to that. And that makes a very fertile soil for cancer, because as we have this progression, this development, when an agent like benzopyrene from smoking might affect these changes and might accelerate the growth and cause a mutation in the DNA when the cell is changing, and all of a sudden the process starts going out of control. Here you have the phases of differentiation of cells, general, and then you have a stem cell to start, and then this cell will develop a different internal material, genetic material, and this will start duplicating, and then until they have the complete duplication, and they have two cells that will go to the places and have their functions there. In each of these parts of the growth of the cell, of the division of the cell, we can have action of some genes or some I would say free radicals, or some substance that will affect and will push for a cancer development. So on those there you have lots of cancer genes showing that, like the RAD8 and the RAD017 and the RAD024 and the MAX and other of those. In a simple way, essentially you have a cell that will initiate. Usually we talk about initiation and promotion. Initiation is when there is an alteration on of the DNA, so the cell changes the identity. But it looks like if the cell changes just the identity and start behaving abnormally, there are a lot of mechanisms that will kill that cell. But also there are other mechanisms that will promote that cell to thrive, and that's what we call promotion. Unfortunately, we can identify substances like smoking. I say unfortunately because many people still smoke, but it's fortunately that many people are stopping. But smoking contains substances that cause the mutation, and also smoking contains substances that will promote the growth of these cells. So when the cell increases the growth, the first phase is to produce a tumor, a benign tumor. In the past, we thought that benign tumors were benign, but now we know that in many cases, benign tumors are a process to get to the malign or malignant tumor. So then the malignant tumor is formed, and then there is the process called angiogenesis, that is development of vessels or blood vessels to irrigate this tumor and give more life to the tumor and bring the nutrients for the cancer cells to thrive, and then you have a formation of a local tumor. It still is local, but then these cells grow and grow and grow, form the tumors, and then enter in the circulation. When they enter in the circulation, then they will cause the metastasis, that they go to other organs and form other tumors in these organs. And you see in the end, a stage of cancer, they are spread out everywhere in the body. There are two basic genes that are related to cancer. The oncogenes are the genes that have DNA alterations or mutations. So these genes can be inherited, or these genes can be formed. If a person smokes, he can form some of these genes, or a person can inherit some of these genes, or these genes can be affected by virus or other substance and being produced. For instance, the RAS gene has a presence in 25% of all cancer cells. Other common oncogenes are c-MYC, n-MYC, that are related to lung cancer. The N-MYL, related to a cancer in the brain. And then CERBP2, that is related to breast cancer. So you have again in that box what can activate these oncogenes: smoking, radiation, virus, or infection with the microorganisms. Fortunately, we have inside of the cell substances or genes that suppress the cancer progression. They fight cancer cells. So when a cancer cell mutates and develop the character of a cancer cell, the cancer suppressor genes will go there and will destroy that cells, and usually through the process called apoptosis. And then they are the security, they are the police that will go around and protect the body against thieves that are nothing else than the cancer cells. One of the problems in many cases is that these cancer suppressor genes can be mutated. And so if these policemen are not anymore with the weapons, they cannot help. I remember one time we were playing soccer in a region when there was two gangbangs playing, and then they were with automatic machines and pistols, and we ran away. And then one of my friends called 911, and all of a sudden we came the policeman there, and the policeman came with this car and all of these guys with automatic weapons, and the only thing that he had was a baton. He didn't have any weapon. So we told him, hey, get out of here because this is not for you. And that's what I mean. A cancer suppressor without ability to kill cancer cells will not work. An example of these genes are the P53 or the RB. And then when there is an alteration of these normal genes that we have and they are suppressed, now they cannot suppress the cancer. Again, I mentioned in the other slide that these genes, the suppressor genes, will promote apoptosis. Apoptosis is nothing else than the death of the cancer cells. So we are inherited with a lot of mechanisms to kill the cancer cells. And apoptosis is nothing else than a suicide. So when the cell starts behaving abnormally, the body will somehow make a screen, this cell is not working appropriately, and then they will trigger a mechanism that the cell will destroy itself. Then in terms of the genes, we can say that we have the oncogenes that will promote, that will activate the cancer, and then we have the tumor suppressor genes that are brakes that will cause apoptosis, and they will try to prevent cancer. And cancer will be the result of activation of oncogenes and suppression of the suppressor genes. For you to have an idea about the importance of these genes, I need to mention here Dr. Dean Ornish. He was one of the first researchers to talk about the effect of vegetarian diets or a plant-based diet on cancer. That's why I believe that it's important for us to talk about vegetarianism and cancer prevention. In the case of Ornish, he was able to, with 93 volunteers, to check what happened with prostate cancer patients after they adopt this plant-based diet or vegetarian diet. So Dr. Dean Ornish did a study with 93 volunteers and measuring the PSA, that the prostate-specific antigen that the cancer patients have, and also check the Gleason scores, and do a randomized experimental program with cancer patients in a diet, in a vegetarian diet, and a control that were doing the normal diet. In the experimental group, none or no patient have to be submitted to prostate cancer treatment as the PSA increased, and 6 people in the control group have to be submitted. So the vegetarian diet was preventing more treatment for cancer. The prostate-specific agent decreased 4% in the experimental vegetarian group and increased 6% in the control. Again, PSA decreased 4% in the group with the vegetarian diet and increased 6% in the control. And then they found that there are some cells that are related to prostate cancer that were identified by Ornish that these cells inhibited 8 times more in the people. They are inhibiting, they are cancer suppressor, cells with cancer suppressor genes that are able to inhibit the cancer development cells in the prostate 8 times more in the experimental group compared to the control group. So we can say 70% inhibition in the vegetarian group compared to 9% in the non-vegetarian group. Here we have a summary of the results in a graphic showing that the PSA was able to decrease in the vegetarian and then increase in the control. You see here that the control, that is in black line, increased the PSA, and then in the experimental group the PSA were decreased. And then we have here another graphic showing the cells that blockage the cancer grow. They are increased 70% in the vegetarian group, and then just 9% in the control group. But the interesting part is that Dr. Ornish didn't stay just checking these elements. He decided to see what was happening in the whole system of genes of these people. And then he figured out that there was 453 downregulated genes and 48 upregulated genes in these groups. In the experimental group with vegetarian diet. And then he was saying that most of these genes that were downregulated are oncogenes, and most of the genes that are upregulated, that were increased, are tumor suppressor genes. So it's very interesting that this opened my mind to think about the importance of developing a vegetarian diet, because probably fruits, vegetables, roots, and beans will fill up our bodies with antioxidants and anti-inflammatory substances that will help to produce and to control our ability to fight cancer. Here is a list of those genes. I'm not sure if you remember, I mentioned that the RAS or RAS oncogene family was suppressed, was downregulated together with a list of other types of cancer genes during the Ornish intervention or Ornish study. And then there are a group of genes that were upregulated. So those that will help, those are tumor suppressor genes that were developed, that were keep with their activity in place, not as a policeman without a weapon. Then we have other substances that we call phase 1 enzymes. Phase 1 enzymes are the enzymes that you have in the body that will activate the carcinogenesis. And then they produce substance that damage the DNA. So the activation of carcinogens is mostly conducted by, or done by the CYP family of enzymes. And then we have the P450, that the cytochrome P450 is the more common. And then we have cyclooxygenase, then N-acetyltransferase, and the sulfotransferase. I'm saying that because during the course I might go back to this when we have, like if I talk about tomatoes, and then I might tell you that tomato has substance that might block these enzymes, and tomato has substance that activate the phase 2 enzymes. The phase 2 enzymes are enzymes that we have in the body that will throw cancer cells and cancer molecules in the bile or urine and will take this substance away from the body. And then the most common substances are acetyltransferase, the glutathione S transferase. The GST is one of the main enzymes of phase 2 that are anti-cancer. And guess what is the food that has more of those? Garlic. I know garlic gives you a bad breath, but probably garlic give a bad breath to the cancer cells and they will run away. So we have UDP glucuronil transferase, and then we have the NADP or quinone oxidoreductase. So it's hard for me also to pronunciate those enzymes. Then we have, now we go to substance in the environment that we have properties that will activate or will not activate or will not do any effect on this phase 1 or 2 enzymes. So the isothiocyanates that are rich in cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cabbage and lettuce and spinach, they will increase the expression of the phase 2 enzymes. Remember, phase 2 are the ones that block the cancer cells. And then, but they don't have any effect on phase 1, that are the ones that develop cancer. Changing a little bit the subject, we go to a heredity. It's saying that 5 to 10% of genes, cancer genes, are inherited. And then 90 to 95 are genes that are produced by the environment and by our lifestyle and by substances that affect us, that we ingest, that we breathe, that we put in contact with our skin. There is another army in our body that also fight cancer. There is a constant war on cancer in our body. I would say that most of people that live in a city today have this war going on. What I mean is that I might have now some cancer cells being developed and being formed in part of my body. If I have a good immune system, the phagocytes, the natural killer cells, the lymphocytes, the lymphokines, if my immune system is good, I am fighting these cancer cells. This calls for several things. You need to develop a good lifestyle, that you have a healthy diet, that you do enough exercise, that you control your stress, that you sleep well, that you go into nature and have time to relax and to go to places that are less polluted. So all of these are important for the immune system. Many times also it's common that a person has symptoms and then you start blocking this system, taking these symptoms, taking a lot of medication. So over-medication to block symptoms are not a good idea. So if you have a headache and then you take a pill, and then if you have a stomachache, you take another pill. If you have a heartburn, you take another pill. If you have allergy, you take another pill. You start suppressing those reactions that are mostly your immune system. And this will let the cancer cell to go free because your immune system is not working, either because it is trying to eliminate the drugs and the pills that you are taking, or because the pills that you are taking suppress their activities. Here you have a cancer cell being fight or being killed or being attacked by lymphocytes that are cells of the white blood cells of the immune system. So there is a war going on inside of your body, but you have to help your body. So what is cancer? Summarizing, it starts with a mutation or changes in the cell identity that we call DNA mutation. Then this mutation can be promoted by other substances or lifestyles. And then if not being treated on time, then it will develop an abnormal growth of the cells and a tumor formation that first is benign and then it turns to be malignant and then will migrate to other organs and create metastasis. And at the end, at this point, it is very dangerous to someone's life. We call stage 1 when the abnormal cells form a tumor in a local place. When this tumor starts going around the areas of the area around the where it started, we call stage 2. And then stage 3 is when this tumor migrate to lymph nodes or lymphatic tissues in the area. And then stage 4 is when they create other tumors around along the body. 85% of the tumors are carcinomas, meaning that they are in the external part of the skin, what we call epithelial cells, or in the mucosa, or in the cells that are in the surface of organs. So they are kind of external type of cancer. But we have other types of cancer that are more internal, like adenocarcinomas in the glands of the breast, or sarcomas that are common in the bone or in the muscle, or even blood cancer like leukemia and lymphomas. And lastly, we have the brain tumors, or glioma is one of the examples. Cancer is a very complicated disease, so we need to go to nature many times and as much as we can to just relax, or just watch a natural scenery that will release your stress. Sometimes that's what we need to prevent cancer in great part, because stress relief is important for the immune system. People that are overstressed or have so many preoccupations and struggles and anxiety and depression, they tend to block the immune system. So this is chapter 2. Thank you for your assistance, and I will see you in chapter 3 when we talk about the screenings for cancer.